You are going to be revising and editing your position paper to make it a more convincing argument by enhancing your style.
But what is style? Well, the words you choose and the way that you arrange them are what create style in writing. The style of your writing needs to connect to the purpose of your writing as well as your audience. This is a position paper, so you are trying to be convincing and clear, like a lawyer would be during trial. Here are some things for you to consider. When you are describing your side of the argument, you want to present your case as visually as possible. Similes, metaphors, and analogies are great ways to help your readers visualize your argument. Similes and metaphors are not just for poetry. In fact, they can be great persuasive devices that really help you clarify and articulate what it is you're trying to say. If you take a look at these two different similes for these different arguments, they both really work. Let's take a look at the first one. A college campus in which students are armed would be like a tense Old West frontier town. Or the other one, sharing music is like lending a good book to a friend, not pirating a ship on the high seas. Metaphors can be very powerful as well, and they really help to clarify even further. But make sure you don't just say the metaphor, you need to expand upon it. If you take a look at the first one, if a shooting incident did occur, the classroom would turn into a shooting gallery, with armed students and police firing away at anyone with a gun in his or her hand. No one would be able to tell the difference between the original shooter and the students with their weapons drawn. Or further, the purpose of the music industry's lawsuit is to throw a few unfortunate college students to the lions. That way, they could hold up a few bloody carcasses to scare the rest of us. When you use a metaphor, make sure you clarify and explain the metaphor in detail. Last, the analogy can sometimes be the most challenging to create because it's a little bit more complex than just a simple simile or a metaphor. Take a look at this one. For some people, a gun has the same comforting effect as a safety blanket to a baby. Neither a gun nor a blanket will protect you from the imaginary monsters, but both can give you a make-believe feeling of security. Notice the X is to Y like A is to B, and the expansion and the clarification and connection to the argument. Try seeing what you can do for your argument. Another way to make your argument more visual is to actually use visuals. Photographs, illustrations, graphs and charts, and diagrams are all ways to do this. As the cliche states, a picture can be worth 1,000 words. And remember, this is persuasive. Find pictures that can pull on your audience's emotions and put them in your paper. The only thing you need to make sure to do is, number one, have a caption for each picture that explains what it is and uses the MLA guidelines for citation. In addition to that, you will also need to include that citation in your works cited page. But don't ever just throw in a picture to throw in a picture. Make sure it has purpose. If you come along a significant amount of data, if you have a lot of numbers, if you're looking at casualties, if you're looking at the economic impact, whatever the issues might be, consider trying to go through and make your own graph or diagram or chart to help illustrate what you're saying. Or if you found one online, use it in your paper, but just make sure you cite it appropriately. You go through and make sure that you title the figure and then refer to it in your actual paper so that way the audience knows where to look to see the data you're referring to.
Part of this position paper is asking you to go in and discuss the opposing viewpoints and to make counter arguments. When you do this, you need to make sure to use a very professional style. You do not want to be insulting, dismissive, or sarcastic, but instead be direct, clear, and objective. For example, if you say, only idiots would think that clearing up acne is a good enough excuse to use tanning beds, that's being insulting. You're inferring that they're dumb. Instead, you could go through and say, many believe that tanning beds are an acceptable cure for acne without considering the permanent damage it does to the skin. So much more professional, direct, clear, and objective. You may want to go back through and look at your opposing viewpoints and your counter arguments and make sure that you have done exactly that. Been direct, clear, and objective. Lastly, part of your style for this paper is going to be keeping it formal. Avoid those generic words. Find better words that articulate what you're trying to say. Don't use stuff, a lot, things. Also, avoid slang. You are not sending your friends text messages. You are writing a formal paper for a real audience. And lastly, try to avoid the use of first and second person. Try to get rid of the I's and the U's whenever possible. If you need help with this, grab one of your teachers and we might be able to help you craft sentences to get rid of those and to make them stronger. Go through, get rid of them.